Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dugout Debrief. This is episode 4, and today we'll be reliving the Philadelphia Phillies versus Atlanta Braves game from April 25th, 2026. So obviously the biggest news here is that the Phillies broke their 10-game losing streak with a win over the Braves in Atlanta. Barring rain delays, weather during the game, and some pretty decent offense from the Atlanta Braves as a whole. If I was a Phillies fan and the biggest news on April 26th was the 10-game losing streak being over following a game, I would not be very happy. But in other news, Zach Wheeler's back. He looked pretty damn good on the mound today. His stuff looked pretty up to snuff with what he was working with prior to the injury, and I believe he's going to be able to kind of make a full recovery after that injury, dating back to last season. In his start, Zach Wheeler gave up 2 earned runs with 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 3 hits. He had 84 pitches, which really was a little bit more than I thought he would be kind of getting into in his first start back after the injury, but it might have kind of just been the flow of the game and the way he was feeling. He must have been feeling pretty good, so it's good to see him feeling good and back on the mound, because guys like this you want to see back in the league as soon as possible. Now moving into Bryce Elder's performance, he's been really good on the year so far. I mean, his last 2 starts he's given up 3 earned runs in each start, but before that point he'd been kind of lighting up the scene with the sub-2 ERA, which he is staying under after this game. But his strikeouts per 9, strikeouts to walk ratio is pretty good. He's more of a ground ball pitcher and will kind of keep things in front of him and keep balls away from barrels. But, this Phillies offense looked a little bit better today, and you did kind of like to see that, because this Phillies team has really been struggling offensively pretty much all year, and with help from Brandon Marsh, who's actually been pretty solid this year for the Phillies, and Bryson Stott, and obviously Bryce Harper, those guys get back into the mix and performing for their team. Throughout the course of the game, it was kind of just a kind of dogfight back and forth with offensive production on both sides, but a lot of production from the Braves side came from Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, Matt Olson. These guys in particular have been spectacular for this team up to this point. It kind of felt like it was just a couple weeks ago where, I think it was the Braves were playing the Guardians at home, and Ozzie Albies was kind of getting off to a slower start, and now he's hitting north of 300 on the season with a 858 OPS, an OPS plus at 139, and a WAR over 1 already. It's just really cool to see these guys just pick it up offensively, especially when their pitching staff has just been not in the best spot injury-wise up to this point. And then jumping into Michael Harris as well. He's got a 1.3 WAR this season, dating back to his years in 2022 and 2023, where he had really strong years at the plate, and then now in this year he's hitting 942 OPS. And that production on either side of the plate for Michael Harris is really important to this team, especially when you got guys in front of him in the lineup getting on base at a rate like Drake Baldwin and Ronald Acuna, who hasn't really gotten started this year, which is pretty crazy to hear when they're leading the NL East at the rate that they are. But you need a guy like Michael Harris to be able to drive in those runs. I just mentioned his name, but Drake Baldwin, second year in the league, playing every day. His batting average also north 300, OPS around 900 as well. There was a pretty cool story of him playing hockey back in the day, and you really see it in his baseball swing, actually. And it's pretty cool to know that this guy is still young and is going to be a name in this league for a long time, especially offensively. I still think it's crazy, dating back to the start of the 2022 season, that Matt Olson hasn't missed a game. 162, 4 years straight, and hasn't missed a game yet this year. Where that 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 level of production is, regardless of his stats, he's obviously a good hitter and is going to be slugging at a rate that is astronomically different compared to the rest of the NL. But to have him playing every day is so beneficial for this Braves team, especially even like last year when they had so many different types of injuries and they were kind of cast out in the NL East. This year, having him play every single game is such a game changer for this team. I really like this Braves team to be making kind of a name for themselves in the NL, especially with the way that the Cubs Dodgers game series is going. Obviously, the Dodgers got their get back today, but that first game was pretty crazy. But this team could definitely be competing for an NL pennant race, and no one's really talking about that. I mean, the Dodgers are kind of just been labeled as the beneficiary of that award, when this Braves team could easily be competing for that, especially when they get guys like Spencer Strider back, who's making some rehab starts as of late. So while I've been talking up the Braves so much to this point, obviously they did not win this game, and the story is that the Phillies did end up breaking their 10-game losing streak. But I don't think, if I'm a Braves fan, I'm really that worried about a game like this, especially when there's rain delay, about an hour. You get some weather during the game as well, and it goes into extras. The Phillies got some timely hitting towards the end of the game, and I think this is kind of just a blip on the radar for this Braves team. I wouldn't necessarily be that worried about it. They're going to win this series, and they're going to move on to keep on dominating the NL East this season. But it's good to see this Phillies team finally get a win, especially with the way the NL is going. The NL Central is just so hot this year. So looking ahead, next game tomorrow, we've got Chris Sale and Aaron Nola on the mound. That should be a very entertaining game, especially offensively for both sides. Just kind of curious to see how this Phillies team kind of responds to a Chris Sale day, because he's had a massive resurgence in his career, and I say resurgence because he just won. He was in the Cy Young race just a couple years ago, but he's 37 years old and he's pitching at a rate that is not human. He's been a beneficiary of not too many injuries in his career, which is definitely a oddity in this league. But he's 37 years old, and to be able to have that sub-3 ERA for this team in a time where they need as much pitching as they can get is so important. If I had to make a pick for this game, I'm going to be rolling with the Braves, but I do think it's also kind of an under pick here because this pitching matchup has been so great this year for both of these teams, along with the fact that they're kind of rounding up the end of this 3-game set, and finally, like, the Braves are moving on to the Detroit Tigers after this, who have been a pretty formidable opponent this year. I think the offenses will be a little bit slower going on this Sunday afternoon game. Their first pitch is at 12:30, so I think that's a pretty strong pick to take that under at a line of 8.5. So while I do think that the under will be in play here just because of the lack of offensive production from both sides, I do think that the likes of Acuna getting kind of started, he really hasn't gotten off to the start of the year that he'd prefer. He has played in all 28 games, but he's hitting a measly 226 on the season with a 693 OPS. Not the greatest for a guy like him. But I mean, this is solely based off the fact that I think he's going to kind of get going against a pitcher like Aaron Nola, who also hasn't really gotten to the start that he's really wanted. But he's kind of been lurking around this 5 ERA for the last couple years now, and maybe this is playing to the hand of the Phillies, I think that's a good pick there to kind of roll with Acuna getting started here, regardless of the fact that I think that the under will be the right play in this game. So that's going to do it for episode 4 of Dugout Debrief. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Any feedback or comments you'd like to leave based off of new production or different types of games you'd like me to cover, please let me know down below, and hope you guys enjoy the video.